This is ours, so we're not doing this. This is the same one we always do. No, this is the one we're doing, but it's the one we always do. I know it. For some reason, I don't know. It's all the same stuff. This was the one where we were having trouble with the Nishigera. Because the last line, right? And you have this. We don't have it.
Right.
Well, I didn't know it was the same one. I just thought the furniture.
Yeah. No, my
I don't
friends
need
and
this. Does
I,
anybody
when I
need
lived
this?
in San Francisco,
I think those are
used to
extras.
just get together and sing through operas together.
Okay,
And so I'm trying to like resurrect that.
we always
Here.
do.
And like do a read through.
It's on the program. It's on the program. But that's not what she said. She said we're doing
Wants to
this.
get paid.
Right.
It's all. It actually is
Right. Something different. About something else.
Everyone
Yes.
Okay, well, I have that.
But are we doing both? I don't know.
Well, come to one of our opera read throughs, and we're going to actually hand out chorus parts to the audience. So we're having our first one, well, technically our second one, but our first like official one at the church.
I'm going to sneak here because I'm going to pull this chair.
Like artist.
Yeah, Norma, why don't you move down? Thank you.
In October 28th. I won't be there, but it's my opera company. Yeah.
She was sitting on the side of me.
Yeah.
She's a real big opera.
Yeah. And you should come to my company's recital tomorrow. On Bustleton Avenue.
Tomorrow I'm going to the Army.
There you go.
It's not too. I heard they were letting all the girls do that. But I don't want to think that that's it. Yes. I just want to make sure it wasn't even. Oh, please. I've been listening to Rachel Maddow. I just want to make sure it's next day. It's horrible.
All right.
What he is trying to do is he's trying to destroy the country. And somebody, forget from one southern state, putting something about him being able to run a third term at 28. Did you see that? No, but that's what I'm scared of. I just hope he stays alive and we don't get this baby. I mean, I know this can be worse.
Is that on Dark Child?
I have to say, this alto section is like rocking it. You guys are strong tonight.
Well, maybe we should hope that he doesn't survive. And JD would do better, you think? I don't think he could be worse. He doesn't have any experience. I mean, he was a senator for a year or something. Well, maybe he might have some mind of P's and Q's and listen to the voice. You know what I'm saying? The fact that they're going to make this headset Secretary of Defense, I mean, the man is so unqualified, aside from everything else about it. Oh, I get it. I get it. And it's all about money. Now all of a sudden, it's cryptocurrency. They made it coins with his face on it. Oh, please. That's money.
Shabbat Shalom.
And the price of eggs is going up.
The Hill We Climb by Amanda Gorman. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always justice. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished, and yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine. But this doesn't mean we're striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so that we can reach our arms out to one another. We seek harm to no one and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we are to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb if only we dare it. Because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust. For while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour. But within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe, now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be. A country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain. If we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it, for there is always light. If only we're brave enough to see it. If only we're brave enough to be it. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to this week's Deep Breath. After a long week of change, many differences, many new things to get used to in our lives. And so we welcome in Shabbat as a means of centering ourselves, of breathing, of taking in this sacred time, and taking in the support and the love and the warmth of our friends and our family, our community. We hold each other up and we rise together. We begin this evening in our service on page 128. Maya Fe Hayom. You don't actually have to rise for that. Metaphorical rising. Later we'll rise. again, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm joined tonight by Cantor Rudnick, who is both our cantor and conductor this evening. So two roles in one. And Olga, our wonderful accompanist, and of course, our wonderful sisterhood choir. Hello, choir. This weekend, this Shabbat, is very special. It's always a special Shabbat, but it's a specially special Shabbat because we have a B'nai Mitzvah this weekend. Blake with Sydney. All right, so we're going to continue with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. Blake's going to lead us off with our candle lighting, and then Sydney will lead us in Kiddush. Come on up, Blake.
As the Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we be our lives give light to all who behold us. Baruch Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with a mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. Yasher Koach, and to lead us in Kiddush. Sydney, come on up.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodesho ba'ava u'ratzon hinhalanu zikaron l'maaseh b'reishit ki hu yom techilah L'mikrayei kodesh zeher l'yitziot Mitzrayim kivanu gavata v'yatanu kidasha mikolim v'shabbat v'ra'u ratzon
L'chaim, take a sip. It's juice.
What do you say? It's juice.
What kind of juice?
Says, I'm not so sure. I'm sure. It's okay. Very nicely done. Yasher Koach, Yasher Koach, Blake. Very nice, both of you. We have had a tradition in our community since October 7th of 2023 of lighting candles, lighting lights for each one of the hostages yet remaining in Gaza. And we continue this tradition in the hopes that these lights will be a lamp to the feet of those yet held hostage, that they may come home soon, and God willing, more tomorrow or Sunday. So we are holding our breath. We are praying for more and more to come home. So if you'd like to come forward, I encourage you all to please come forward as we light these lights, these lamps, to their feet. Please join us.
Stunning today.
So we know, we talked about this week in and week out, that even in times of great sorrow and grief, our people have found reasons to celebrate. And the Kabbalists would want us to take Shabbat in for all it is supposed to be. And so with that spirit in our minds, we turn to their favorite prayer, their favorite moment of Kabbalat Shabbat, the Charodi, page 138, 139, to welcome in the Sabbath with joy and with spirit. we continue on page 146 and rise for our call to worship and the blessings that will follow. They will all segue one into the other. Here we go. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Barechu HaMevorach b'amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev b'amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. We will continue with the chanting of Ve'ahavta, page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'dvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shitecha b'beitecha u'b'lechtecha b'derech u'b'shoftecha u'v'kumbecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha ve'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtaftam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם באמת.
And now, in honor of Laura Ritchie, I'm going to ask Jamie and Sydney to come forward. Or maybe just Sydney. Who's up for it? Oh, Sydney and JP. Okay. Sydney and Jamie are going to come forward to lead us in a reading on page 155, an interpretation of Ve'ahavta. And you could use mine as well.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
Cannot think of a more fitting tribute to a loved one than passing on what they gave us in life. We'll continue on page 157. Let's read responsively at the bottom of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. We continue with Micha Mocha, the Song of the Sea, page 158. Page 160.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkiveinu, Leshalom. V'ha'amidenu, Shomrenu lechaim. Ufros aleinu, Sukkot shlom lecha. Hashkiveinu, Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkiveinu, Leshalom. Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkiveinu,
We take a moment now to think of all of those in need of healing. Healing of body, healing of spirit, and healing of mind. In our community, we pray for the speedy healing of David Ben Meir Batya, Ashley Blue Bonema, Ellen Brodkin, Bernie Bronstein, Nate Sugarman, Mel Claver, Stanley Cohen, Peg Collins, Gloria Stunnis, Alexander Gendler, Perry Goldlust, Ethel Greenberg, Mark Halpern, Rick Kreschtool, Merwin Landay, Merle McAllister, Bonnie McKenna, Fred McKenna, David Meltzer, Rick Pirates, Terry Rivas, Bob Seeley, Barry Sokol, Ian Spector, Helen Subio, Elliot Moron, and Luca Zutchman. We join together, page 371, as we offer our Mishaberach Lecholim, our prayer for those in need of healing.
We turn now in our Siddur back to page 164 and rise as we are able for tefillah. Adonai sifatai tifta ufia bitehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips and my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov.
hakol. Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kdoshim b'chayom ya'alelu haselah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. Let's read together on the top of page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat. On page 177, we offer our modim. We offer our thanks to God. Let's join together at the bottom of the page. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha, ulecha na'eh lehodot. And now on page 178, we offer a prayer for peace. Shalom Rav, that abundant peace may find us, all Israel, and all the world.
Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tatzim Be'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tatzim Be'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tatzim Be'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tatzim Be'olam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tatzim Be'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tatzim Be'olam. Tatzim Be'olam. Tatzim Be'olam. We take a moment now for personal prayers and private meditations. shalom bimroma. Huya shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom. Oseh shalom bimroma. Oseh shalom. Huya shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen ve'imru amen ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom. May the one who makes peace upon and watches over us help us build a world filled with love. May the one who makes peace upon and watches all of us. Oseh shalom. Oseh shalom. Oseh shalom bimrama. Oseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. May the one who makes peace upon and watches over us help us build a world filled with love. May the one who makes peace upon and watches over us. Oseh shalom. Oseh shalom.
Wherever we find ourselves this Shabbat, let us pause to appreciate the profound gift of being together in person or virtually, with family, friends, and community. By now, most of us have seen images or videos of the 3 female hostages released from Gaza this week, most especially that of Emily Damari, holding up what was left of her hand as a symbol that her heart is still beating for Israel and all those yet held captive. Many of us, phones grasped tightly in our hands, kept refreshing the news on Sunday, holding our collective breath and only exhaling as we watched the first 3 hostages make the harrowing journey home from Hamas captivity to Red Cross vehicles and finally into the safe and welcoming arms of the IDF. In this week's Torah portion, Vayera, God speaks to Moses in a way that deeply resonates with the events unfolding right before our eyes. God says, I have heard the moaning of the Israelites because the Egyptians are holding them in bondage, and I have remembered my covenant. These words are more than a declaration. They're a promise that reverberates through time and affirms that suffering is never the final chapter, that captivity will not have the last word, and a reminder that redemption endures. Now in our own time, we have witnessed yet another instance of that promise breaking through our veil of seemingly endless despair. Romy Gonen, Doron Steinbrecher, and Emily Damari were the first hostages released since November of 2023. After 470 days of captivity, 470 days of darkness and anguish and abuses we can't imagine, they crossed the threshold from bondage to freedom. Bibi Netanyahu tells us that these women have been through hell. And this past Sunday, these brave, incredibly strong lionesses of Israel somehow climbed their way out of hell under their own power. 14 months since the last hostage release, they returned home into the waiting arms of their families. And even as we celebrate this glimmer of redemption, we must recognize the fragility of the moment. The release of 3 hostages is not the fullness of freedom. It's not the end of suffering or the resolution of conflict. It's the first step that Nachshon took into the sea, with the Egyptians at his back and a wide, churning sea before him. It's the first step Abram took when he heard Lech Lecha, go forth from your native land, with the familiar way behind him and a winding, treacherous road ahead. When God spoke to Moses, the Israelites could not hear the promise. Their spirits were crushed by cruel bondage, the Torah tells us. And how often have we too felt crushed by the weight of violence, the weight of grief, the weight of a world that seems locked in cycles of pain? And yet, even in their despair, the promise was alive. Even in the depths of their suffering, the covenant endured. Eventually, the Israelites would hear the promise, but after being in bondage for so long, they had to see miracles for themselves to be convinced. This past Sunday, make no mistake, we witnessed a miracle. That any of the hostages taken on October 7th, 2023 are still alive is a miracle. This ceasefire, though tentative and delicate, holds within it the seeds of something greater. It's a crack in the wall of despair that dares us to hope. That dares us to hope that this moment will be more than a fleeting reprieve. That it will be a turning point for this war and for this region. Again and again, the Torah teaches us that redemption is not a singular act, but a process with stages and unpredictable twists and turns. God may have declared, "I will redeem you with an outstretched arm," but the people still had to walk out of Egypt. They had to cross the wilderness, face the uncertainty of their freedom, and master their doubts and their fears. Redemption comes in the steady march of hope that refuses to be extinguished. The release of Romy, Doron, and Emily this past Sunday was the beginning of such a march. But there are still 30 hostages yet to be released in this initial phase of negotiations. And beyond that, who can say? The implementation of this week's ceasefire is tenuous at best, we know that. Delays nearly derailed its implementation, and the road ahead remains uncertain. But just as Moses had to navigate the back and forth of Pharaoh's ever-changing, hardened heart, the modern architects of peace must contend with immense communication issues and the stubbornness of leaders who are unwilling to compromise. Fortunately, those working to ensure that this latest ceasefire agreement remains intact are not working alone. No matter how many times Cecil B. DeMille tried to convince us in the Ten Commandments that Moses acted alone, he didn't. In fact, he relied on a strong network of support every step along the way. Aaron was his voice, Miriam was his galvanizer, Joshua his general, and trusted elders provided wisdom and structure. These, among many others, helped Moses to guide the Israelites through the challenges they faced in the wilderness. It took a village then to make it from bondage to freedom, and it takes a village now to navigate this fragile moment. The logistics involved in implementing even a partial ceasefire and securing the release of these first hostages and Palestinian prisoners were monumental. Behind the scenes, U.S. negotiators worked alongside officials from Egypt and Qatar to implement a viable agreement and push the process forward. The IDF and the Shin Bet executed the hostage release with extraordinary precision. Special forces units ensured safe passage, and medical teams were immediately deployed to assess and care for the returning hostages, offering preliminary steps towards healing. And even the Red Cross, though they have failed to fulfill their basic humanitarian obligation and advocate for any of the hostages since October 7th, they managed to facilitate the hostage transfer. The decision to release 3 hostages as the first step was deliberate, a confidence-building measure to test the fragile ceasefire and signal commitment to the agreement. Even this small step required immense coordination and patience, as delays and mistrust threatened to unravel the process in its final moments. Intricate collaboration is required to bring about even the smallest steps towards redemption. It requires countless hands working tirelessly behind the scenes. As the Torah teaches us, redemption is rarely the work of one person or one act. It is the result of collective action, persistence, planning, and ultimately, as Mitch Albom might say, having a little faith. This Shabbat, as we gather with family and friends, we give thanks for the blessings of freedom and togetherness we so often take for granted. The return of Romy, Doron, and Emily should deepen our gratitude for what we hold dear, even as it strengthens our resolve to work for a future where such suffering is no longer possible. The promise of redemption is alive in our tradition, not just as a story of the past, but as an urgent call to action in the present. May we be inspired by the steps we have seen this week, knowing that even these small acts of liberation, can crack a seemingly impenetrable wall. Like Romy, Doron, and Emily, who have endured unimaginable suffering yet now walk free, may we find the strength to take the steps necessary to bring our light into the darkness. Every action, every moral arc we bend toward justice, every prayer for peace contributes to the unfolding of God's promise. And yet, even as we celebrate this most recent taste of freedom, we continue to hold our breath every day, every week, waiting and praying for more hostages to come home. Our hearts remain with the families who are still waiting. Redemption is a long and winding road, so let's choose to walk that road together, wrestling with the tension between grief and hope. And may we continue to work and continue to walk until all who are bound walk free. Shabbat Shalom. We turn back now into our service and our prayer books to page 586 and rise for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. The light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty, but it soon fades. Its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen, yet we do not despair. For we are more than a memory, slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. We are in a period of Shloshim. For Hannah Ehrlich-Rubin, Gilda Ellis, Gloria Barsky, Selma Komro, Jennifer Raymond, Sharon Rode, and Douglas Coates. And this week, we mark the following yardsites in our community. Louis Arnold, Leonard Baer, Esther Barrett, Claire Berkowitz, Anita Berman, Joseph Blickman, Mary Bold, Leona Borden, Sylvia Bronstein, Stephen Brown, Joseph Carson, Jane Cohen, Zelda Cohen, Maurice Cooper, Mario Botten, Etta Edelman, William Etra, Ruth Felderstein, Louis Fine, Moses Feinsilver, Meyer Finkel, Bernard Frank, Boris Galprin, Rosalie Gelfond, Herman Gerwitz, Alan Goldborough, Betta Goldberg, Arnold Goldman, Solomon Goldstein, David Goldstein, Erwin Grabov, Libby Greenspan, Roger Guski, Walter Hand, Israel Handelman, Erwin Harvitz, Levi Kahn, Marilyn Kaufman, Richard Kendall, Samuel Kozloff, Lillian Lebov, Nathan Lebowski, Robert Lindsay, Samuel Lincoln, Jerry Lundy, Margaret Hunn, Sidney Make, Marjorie Maslow, Martin Miller, Anna Miller, Herman Mosler, William Nelson, Rose Parson, Lorraine Perlin, Naomi Reiner, Laura Ritchie, Irving Rosgrove, Irving Rogrove, Samuel Rosen, Louis Rosenblatt, Beatrice Rosenkopf, Gerald Schamberg, Robert Schulman, Milton Silverman, Pauline Sklar, Norman Sversky, Max Solomon, Harry Spivak, Dora Swit, Martin Thorner, Samuel Trachtenberg, Michael Volachuk, Ida Vogel, Sarah Wayne, Beverly Weinberg, Bertie White, David White, Robert Wolf, and Tulia Zevi. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for an everlasting blessing as we continue on page 598 and rise for Kaddish Yatom, our mourner's Kaddish, praising God's name for their memories. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma tivarach hirutei v'yamnich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah muvarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yibarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalam, shemei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. be seated. Except for Helene Erla Cohen, who has some announcements for us. And hopefully an Eagles cheer.
Yes, great. I just saw it. I just had it done today. Let's do it.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And thank you to our Rabbi Mullo, Cantor Rudnick, to Ava Borosowski, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, and our fabulous Sisterhood Choir for leading us tonight in this beautiful service. I want to call your attention to some very exciting upcoming programs and special events. Join Cantor Rudnick tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for Torah study, followed by our Shabbat morning service. Both Torah study and services will be in person and on Zoom. The MLRT Beer and Wine Club will meet on this Sunday, January 26th at 7 p.m. at PJ Wellahan's in the Wynwood Shopping Center. On Monday, January 27th at noon, we will be joined by author Elliot Rosen to discuss his book, The Inheritance. We are thrilled to continue our partnership with the Jewish Book Council. Also on Monday evening at 8 p.m. with Rabbi Newberg, it's Keeping It Real. This week's movie is Shiva Baby, and it's free on Netflix if you want to watch the movie, and join us at 8 o'clock. It's always a lively discussion. Purim is coming, and Sisterhood will be selling Shlach Manot again. There is no better way to spread joy and let your friends and loved ones know that you're thinking of them. Look for an email on February 5th with instructions to place your order. Come in from the Cold Curtis concert will be Sunday, February 23rd at 3 p.m. MLRT is proud to partner with Curtis Institute of Music for an hour-long concert. Save the date, Saturday, March 1st, for our Be Inspired Bash, honoring Kerry and Dave Heppen and Jenny and Sam Nemroff. Play a winning hand at our casino night with dinner and dancing. Tickets are now on sale. The Sisterhood Bargain Boutique returns at the end of March. Collection will begin March 23rd. Start organizing your jewelry, accessories, etc. Last but certainly not least, Mazel Tov to the Baldies and Bronstein families as Sydney and Blake become B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow morning. You will find complete information about our upcoming programs in the bulletin, e-news, and on our website. Wishing everyone a peaceful and happy week, and go Eagles!
Eagles!
Yes, do go Birds. We will not be concluding with the fight song this evening. In honor of the recent hostage release, and God willing, more hostage releases. We conclude our service this evening on page 678, near the back of our prayer books, with Hatikva, the national anthem for the state of Israel. Please rise. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. A pleasure.
Okay, better be Holly, Shabbat Shalom. Mwah. Bob, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, sweetheart. Nice to meet you. Always. What are we doing with these? There's the park is there.
No, I don't say Shabbat Shalom.
Look at your cute little pig.